Now, in this video, we will talk about marketing research. So first, what is a marketing research process? First, you have to define the problem and the research objectives. Why do you want to do this research? What is the problem that makes you do this particular research? So you have to study the background, define the background, and what is the exact problem. And for that problem, what are the research objectives and what kind of research you want to do? Second is developing the research plan. So once you have defined the problem and research objectives, then you develop the research plan. So these are the planning part. Part. After that, you have to organize the research and implement the research plan. So the third portion is organizing and implementing the research plan. In that, what you're doing is you're setting up your team, and then you are ensuring that the team goes and collects the data, whatever is the kind of research method you're using, you do it properly, get the information, collect the finished information, and then analyze, collate it, analyze it, and so last thing is interpreting and reporting the findings. So interpret the findings and reporting it. So these are the four steps: defining the problem and research objectives, developing the research plan, organizing and implementing the research plan, and lastly, interpreting and reporting the findings. So this is the marketing research process that is there. In that, the first step, what is defining the problem and research objectives? So essentially, there are three kinds of research. One is exploratory research, the second is descriptive research, and the third is causal research. It is not casual research, it is causal research. So what are these? Exploratory researchers, you have to gather preliminary information that will help define the problem and suggest hypotheses. So this is just exploring the market as such, exploring the data as such. So you are just doing a small preliminary thing. Maybe it can be secondary data. You go through the secondary data. You may even go for primary data. You may collect some information, do a small pilot, talk to some people, and after these information, collecting this information from published sources, that is what you talk about secondary sources, published sources, uh, like magazines, newspapers, even websites, and all those. You get data, and based on these data, based on whatever you have learned from around you after talking to people, doing a small preliminary pilot study, then you can actually define the problem. And once you define the problem, you can suggest hypothesis. So what is the hypothesis that you're looking at? This is the first one. This is called exploratory research, where you are just exploring what is there and finding out some details on that. Second is descriptive research. Research is done using questionnaire, other tools, where you interview people and find out details, and it describes things as consumers' attitudes and demographics or a market potential for a product. So descriptive research is things like that. You are getting information as to what is the consumer's attitudes, job satisfaction, demographic, sorry, consumers satisfaction, not job satisfaction, consumer satisfaction, and demographics, or what is the potential market for a product. So this is descriptive research. And you have causal research. Causal research is you're finding out what is the cause of the effect that you're seeing in front of you, the why something is happening, the diagnostics part of it. So here you're testing hypothesis about cause and effect relationship. What is the cause of the things that is happening, and based on this cause you can take decisions what to be done as such. So these are the three kinds of research. So you have to define the problem and research objectives based on this: exploratory research, descriptive research, and causal research. Then come to the second part, which is developing the research plan. You have to determine the specific information needed. It can be through secondary source or primary source. You have to take a call on what source you are looking at. Secondary source is information that has been previously collected. You can get it from portals. You can get it from published reports, government publications, and all those. Or you can have primary research, where information is collected for the specific purpose at hand, the purpose that you are having. It is custom research that you are talking about. Both must be relevant, accurate, current, and impartial. This is more problematic in terms of secondary data, because primary data, you have a specific need, and you're based on that need, you're creating a research plan and then doing the study. On the other hand, secondary data could have been done for something else, not our specific objective. It may be some other objective that they had. So you have to ensure that it is relevant to what you are looking at. So that is very important as far as secondary data is concerned. So it should be relevant, it should be accurate. Whatever study you're doing, people should not fudge details. It should be accurate, and it should be current. Again, secondary data may not be current. We were talking about customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction changes, customer perception changes. Customers will be perceiving our company in a particular way last year. This year, their perception may have changed. You may have come out with new products. You may have redesigned your website. You may have redesigned your products. You may have redesigned the communication. Based on all that, perception about the people regarding your company would have changed. Lots of things happen within a 1 year gap. So what is your customer perception about your company this year may not be relevant again next year. So it has to be relevant, current, accurate, impartial. So these are the very important things that you have to ensure when you are deciding what is your secondary and primary data source. Now, once you have decided what is the source, you have to actually look at how you are going to collect data. So primary data collection, how are you going to do it? One is observational research. By observing people, actions, and situations, you can gather data. So for example, you stand in front of a shop. You can actually observe what people are doing. What are they asking for? Are they asking for a brand by name, or are they asking just for a soap? What is the shopkeeper doing? Is he giving whatever that guy is asking for, or when he is that person is asking for these customer is asking for a particular product, not by brand name but just product name, which is a brand that he is giving. And if the customer is asking why you are suggesting this, what is the answer that shopkeeper is giving? So you can gather, this is one example, gather data by observing people, actions, and situations. This is basically, we were talking about exploratory study. This is one way of doing exploratory study. So observational research is one of that. Survey research, we talked about descriptive studies. We talked about interviewing customers. So survey research is asking individuals about attitudes, preferences, perception, buying behaviors, etc. What is a particular buying behavior that they are having? That is purchase behavior. Do you go and buy only one product or a number of products? How many do you buy at a time? What is the frequency of purchase? Do you buy one weekly, or you do you buy things monthly, or once in a while? So these are, do you ask for a brand by name, like I said earlier? So these are the buying behaviors or purchase behaviors. This is a descriptive study where you're going and interviewing the individuals. The last one is experiential research. We were talking about cause effect. This is one method of cause effect, where you do experimental research. This is done very much in these days with digital marketing, where they, let us say, they have two advertisements created and two designs that are ready. So they want to know which is more, which is better. So you have one a the a product a design being tested, then b is being tested, and then you find out which is better of the two, which is more effective of the two. So using groups of people to determine cause and effect relationship, causal studies. What is that is creating the difference in attitude towards that product. So why such a thing is happening based on this experiment. So you have observational research, you have survey research, and you have experimental research. So these are the three primary data collection method. And then there are different contacts method. How do you contact people? You can contact people through online. You can have personal one-to-one interviews. You can use mailers. You can send them mail and expect returns, where your mail is actually, they can it is prepaid. And then you can have telephonic interviews. So telephonic interviews, personal interviews, and online interviews, or you can have mailers. So these are some of the data collection methods. You have primary data collection. These are the options that you have. So with that, we will stop.